Wowie, wow, wow, wow. I'm going to think the animation probably is completed by now. Hi, everyone. It's me, Michael Swaim, and welcome to a Friday session of news, games, and much, much, much more. I'm here with Seth Macy, Matt Kim, and Tom Marks. Say hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hey guys.
Hello. Nice.
Only Seth
Nice.
followed instructions and is in the lead for this episode. I
Yes.
will apparently be your judge. And hey, guys, let's hop into it. We basically round up the top news in gaming, pop culture, and sometimes even more of the day and shed a little light on what we know. So first and foremost, if you clicked because of the headline, you know that the high and mighty Aaron Greenberg, who is my general manager of Xbox Games Marketing, issued an apology via Twitter for the Inside Xbox stream. So I'm going to throw it to my editorial / knowledgeable people on the show. Tell us about the Inside Xbox stream, what the plans are for that, and what this backlash is about.
Tom, do you want to go or should I?
That's
Sure.
going to be Tom or Matt.
Yeah, no, I'll go. So yesterday they did, Xbox or Microsoft did the Inside Xbox thing, which is a live stream they do with relative frequency. And they promised that they were going to be showing off all new next-gen gameplay. And the reaction was a little bit disappointed, I think, is the best way to put it. Some of the, specifically with stuff like Assassin's Creed Valhalla was hyped up with this cinematic trailer early in the week, then said gameplay is going to be revealed on Thursday. And then when we got there, their gameplay cinematic trailer was shorter than the cinematic trailer and didn't really have much raw gameplay in it. So people were annoyed and people felt deceived in a big way that this showcase that was supposed to be the world unveiling of next gen gameplay was not really that, and the stuff that was there wasn't really the games looked cool, but they weren't mind-blowing graphically, and so people were pretty disappointed. And Aaron Greenberg said on Twitter that they set some expectations wrong, I believe, or set wrong expectations, which is I think kind of what this comes down to, in my opinion at least, is this wasn't necessarily as much an issue specifically of what was shown sucked. It was more an issue of expectations and hype was built really, really high by Microsoft themselves in some cases, and then it didn't really deliver on. It didn't hit that bar.
Yeah. Aaron Greenberg, his full tweet was in response to a user who said that officially Xbox promised gameplay, and Aaron Greenberg tweeted, "Had we not said anything," and this is a quote, "had we not said anything and just shown May Inside Xbox show like we did last month, I suspect reactions might have been different. Clearly, we set some wrong expectations, and that's on us. We appreciate all the feedback and can assure you we will take it all in and learn as a team." Prayer hand emoji.
Green heart emoji. Yeah, and for the let's not take his quote out of context. And for the record, as far as those expectations, I think they're all triggered by this sentence in the description for the Xbox Live event. For the May update, we will focus on giving you a first look at next-gen gameplay trailers and sneak peeks. And I don't know about y'all, I've been here 7 months, and people are very finicky, and perhaps rightly so. I'm not saying we should get away with it with titles. And if you use words like official or gameplay, words have very specific meanings in the world of gaming, and gamers can get very upset if you misspeak. But that said, do you guys think it's fair to say that this almost in a way speaks to the success Microsoft has had in building hype around the Xbox? I mean, I can't imagine the backlash would be this sort of disappointed vibe if they hadn't already gotten everyone so excited, in contrast to Sony, who are just sort of waiting and
Right.
holding their cards close to the chest.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job of sort of winding up the hype machine here. And so I think everyone was sort of expecting this to follow that same trajectory, and it kind of didn't. And that turned out to be pretty disappointing to people. Myself, I was watching it. I was very excited, texting my friends, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be cool. Oh, did you see that?" And then we just sort of stopped texting, and I went back to doing the work that I was supposed to be doing at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, all the recent next gen news have come through Xbox and Microsoft, and that's a huge win for them. So that's cool. At the same time, I'm glad in a way that this sort of like growing pain episode happened, because next time people will know that gameplay means gameplay, right? Like that was a big sort of red flag. Was, people expect HUDs and actions and what and like button prompts and
Things you can infer the mechanics from a little bit and start to
right?
get excited about. Yeah.
But, and to be totally fair, that's not that expectation is kind of like the actual term gameplay trailer has always been misused, right?
Mhm.
Like that's not a new issue with this event specifically. Gameplay trailer has been used a lot in the past to just mean like in-engine footage trailer, and it doesn't actually mean like here's raw gameplay.
Right.
I will do a specific shout out, like because some of them did have gameplay, right? Like the whole first, I can't remember the name of the first game. Help me out here. Bright Memory Infinite. Bright Memory Infinite had like what seemed to be raw gameplay. We don't necessarily know if that was like bull shots or not. As similarly, The Ascent, which is our IGN first for this month, just like, a little shameless plug there. But The Ascent started with a cinematic gameplay or cinematic trailer and then showed gameplay. And then we actually revealed, if you go to IGN.com right now, we have 12 minutes of unedited gameplay of The Ascent up as part of our IGN first. So like that stuff is coming. It was just like, it was definitely a matter of expectations. And I also will say real quick too, this isn't like Microsoft screwed up with the messaging here, but Sony screwed up with the messaging of their like GDC time talk.
Right.
So it's not like either side is like immune to this, right? Like both sides are having struggles right now with like, how do we message our reveals around this in an era where every event is being canceled?
Yeah.
Right. And Aaron Greenberg's the general manager of Xbox Games Marketing. So he's essentially just doing his job. Like, I'm sure he's not in that much hot water. His job is like, well, we tried that. It didn't go well. Damage control. Tomorrow we'll try something else. I'm sure he'll be fine if you're worried about Aaron Greenberg and all of this.
Aaron Greenberg, if you're listening, we're pulling for you, bud.
Thoughts and prayers, dude. But they did reveal a lot of games. They went more in depth on them on yesterday's episode, so you can see a full unpacking there or watch the full stream. But I did want to list it just in case it sparks anything for anyone or viewers don't know, because games are what we all want to know about, right? They showed Yakuza Like a Dragon, Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2, which is a long title, The Medium, The Ascent, Second Extinction, dinosaur fighting game, Scorn, which we've known about for a while, but looks really awesome, Scarlet Nexus, Madden NFL 21, Dirt 5, Chorus? I don't remember what that one is. Call of the Sea.
It had a V for a U, so it looked like Corvus.
Oh, okay. Bright Memory Infinite, and of course, AC Valhalla. What was Chorus about? Can you refresh me?
It was like an X-wing fighter game, sort of.
Oh.
And at the end, the lady had a psychic bond with her ship and like pet it like it was a.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Avatar.
Looked kind of cool. Yeah.
And I think we should also add, because I'm seeing in chat a ton of like, you know what would make me accept the apology? Just show us some Halo Infinite footage already.
Yeah.
And so we should note that Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty announced that we will be getting a closer look at the first party titles coming to Xbox Series X in July's Xbox Inside.
Away.
And
he specifically said Halo Infinite too.
I love in our article, Matt, did you write that? Who wrote this article?
I wrote that.
Yeah, you said they made an effort to point out, which I think is worded well, that we would hear from 343 Industries, which of course we would infer is Halo Infinite material. So it's coming in July, I guess, is the word on that.
Yeah, the fact that they were very clear about this being a third-party showcase this time, but like
they were clear on, yeah.
Yeah, but like also it's a weird way to come out swinging because everyone is so hungry to see new next-gen stuff, myself included, that like it's kind of odd to lead with third party when like they like, as the comments in this chat clearly makes like clear, right? People want to see Halo. People want to see these things. Like they're hungry for that. And so I get why this was a disappointment, even if it wasn't like, I don't think it was necessarily a disaster, but I get why this was a disappointment to a lot of people. We did a poll on an article I wrote yesterday asking on the IGN scale how you would rate this Inside Xbox showcase. And after like, I think we got about 20,000 votes, 75% of those votes would give it a 6 or lower. Ooh. So it was like resoundingly people were not very pleased with this.
On the scale, that's an okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. I could also imagine though you have that human effect where like I bet people are more motivated to come say it sucked than people who are like that packaged hype event was so good I give it a 10. You know, it's hard to get like energy behind that.
That's true. That's true.
We just want those sweet treats, and if you don't
Yeah.
give them to us, you kind of failed. And that's fair because we're going to give you all our money in exchange. So you know you got to bring the pain. Do you guys know enough? I don't know enough to speak to this, and so maybe we'll move on quickly. But is it an issue of them probably not having the material together, or talking to 343 and the team saying we just really aren't ready to unleash this yet? We need more time? Or do you think it was purely a marketing decision? Someone had a vision for bundling third-party showcase, and then, you know, like, do you think that was a planned thing, or?
I think that's 100% what it is. I'm sure that there has been a roadmap intricately planned out for about 2 years now, down to like the second. And I think that this was the part of it. They're like, third party first. That makes sense, and then we'll get to the Halo stuff.
That'll give us
really-
like
kids
street
really
cred.
enjoy. Yeah,
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 we
right.
respect
exactly.
artists. Yeah.
'Cause, you know, every time a console comes out, what does everybody say? Oh, it needs third party support. Wii U
No.
didn't succeed because it didn't have third party support. Now I could argue how that is false, but that's what everybody says and believes. so.
Nintendo. Yeah.
The Wii U didn't succeed for a lot of reasons. Let's be
Right, and it's a following indicator. Third party support comes because it's a successful, or they believe it is going to be a successful. It doesn't fail because it doesn't have third party support.
It's a vote of confidence in the platform. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I would wonder though, to your question, Swaim. I think Seth is totally right, but I
Thank
do
you.
think that E3's cancellation almost certainly scattered people to the wind a little bit, right? Where everyone from who had an announcement that is now going to be going from May to July and probably later was all going to do that first week of June. And when you didn't need to be held to that first week of June now, it ballooned in both directions. So probably this is a lot of what they were going to show in that June thing that was ready now. And then a lot of what they were going to show in the June thing is going after it because they want more time with it.
Right.
So probably a mix of reality and the plan.
Probably.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Definitely agree with Tom. I think if you look back at all the Xbox E3 press conferences, they have, 4 blocks for big breakout titles. You know, your Cyberpunk Keanu Reeves cameo and your Forza Horizons and stuff like that. And those get their own little individual time slots, and then they do a little little show of a bunch of trailers back to back to back. And I think that segment got piecemealed out forward into what we saw this week.
I also see a couple of people asking in chat about which of the games will be smart delivery. And if you care about that, I just want to point out at IGN.com, we have an article that lists all the games, has the material broken out that we did get from the Xbox Inside, and it lists which ones are available for smart delivery. I think that's a little granular to go through again now, but check that out at IGN.com.
The answer for yesterday was most of them, though.
Most. It is
the quick
most.
answer.
Yes. And I think that's a great transition to our second story, which is a Tom Marks classic, currently lighting up the site at IGN.com. Good work, Tom. And it's more of, I love this because we tend to get hits out of our very transactional, here's what happened, and I understand that. You want to know what happened. But this was more of a think piece. So could you just sort of encapsulate the piece you posted today? Because I think seeing a lot of these games, the disappointment factor kind of speaks to the way we're transitioning from one generation to another, but this is not the end of the life of the next gen. You'll say it better than I just did. Go ahead.
Yeah, the headline of the piece is you may need to lower your expectations for next gen graphics. And essentially what that meant is it's not. I saw a lot of the disappointment yesterday after the Inside Xbox showcase, which I think is a lot of it is rightful disappointment. We just talked about that. But like some of it was these games don't look next gen, right? It was these games aren't pretty enough to be next gen. They're not huge enough. And I think that there's a little bit of a misconception, a little bit of a misexpectation right now where some people think that this is going to be a similar generational jump in graphical quality to previous ones, like the PS3 to the PS4. the PS4 to PS5 is going to be that same huge jump. And I think that's just not true. Like we've hit a point where the PS5 and the Xbox Series X don't have a higher resolution they can go, right? They can do 8K, but 8K is a marketing buzzword. It's not like a real thing yet. Whereas the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X have already shown us what 4K can be, and so we know what that looks like. Similarly,
sorry to interrupt, but just so that it comes together in the thought, is 8K a marketing gimmick because the TVs don't support it yet? Or is it almost impossible to distinguish with the human eye? That's something I always wanted the answer to.
It's both.
Yeah.
Both are true? Okay.
Basically, yeah.
And even...
Uh-oh.
Oh, Tom, you cut out a bit?
Oh, there, sorry.
So passionate. Okay.
Go for it.
Even more than that, it is obscenely difficult to run 8K. Like,
yeah.
Like no, like the best GPUs on the market right now cannot run games at 8K in a standard that people would be okay with. Frame rate would go down, quality would go down, everything would be sacrificed for 8K right now. Like we're not there yet. And we'll get there eventually, but like it's not at a realistic point yet. Right. So we don't really have that bar to like look at yet in terms of next gen. So like the thing that, and our own Bo Moore, our executive tech editor, wrote this great piece about what the 12 teraflops of the Series X means last month. And basically like his point and the thing that he heard from a lot of devs was like, it's not just about graphics, it's also about simulations. It's things like hair, water, lighting are going to get a lot better looking, but those are changes that are like really, really subtle. And even things like going from 30 FPS to 120 FPS is going to make a huge difference if you have a TV that can run it. But like that doesn't show up in an E3 style trailer, right? Like all of these changes are not things that you're going to be noticing in a highly produced E3 trailer. They're things you're going to be noticing when you're playing it and you really like notice the subtle improvements that show up. And
and especially it's interesting that people are judging graphics on a video that was compressed for YouTube that they're watching on their phone. And you're like, you don't know what it looks like yet. You really don't.
But even then, like the thing that we had in previous generational jumps, which was very obvious, was you got higher resolution textures and you got more polygons and models. And like those are improvements that are so surface level that you can immediately see the difference. You look at Uncharted 3 and then you look at Uncharted 4 and you go, that game looks better. And like, we're just not going to have that, right? Like we're just not going to have that this generation. There are going to be first party games that Microsoft and Sony bring out that do that. But like those are going to be the exceptions rather than the rule. First party games. The third party games are going to be pretty similar to what we've seen now, and you're not going to really be able to know the differences until you have it in front of you.
To be fair,
yes,
when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One came out, there was a lot of talk about these don't look much different than last generation games. So I think that's just how it goes. And plus, we've reached a point of diminishing returns. I mean, you have to add so much more processing power to add so many more polygons that you're not even going to see. It's making a face slightly smoother by adding, a million more polygons that a processor has to render and then, do tons of math that just makes everything smoke and burn otherwise. So yeah, we're kind of at the diminishing returns. It's not like it was when you threw Super Mario World in your Super Nintendo for the first time and 256 colors on screen just blew you away.
Do you guys remember back when trailers for a game engine called Unlimited Detail that rendered things based on like spatial mathematics rather than polygons, so it was theoretically infinite? We're floating around the internet. I don't have time to go into it now if no one knows, but I see a bunch of articles that are like, whatever happened to Unlimited Detail? It looks cool. And indeed it did.
They ran out of seed funding and they collapsed, and they probably sold their technology for bit parts.
Gotcha.
Look,
but barring some like actual innovation that changes the game in a way that we're not going to predict on this show, where they're like, we can render graphics this way. Yeah. It's outside all the rules. There is a limit literally to the physical manifestation. We need Bo on for more detail, but of the chips as well, right? I mean, do you think this is a thing that we're going to have to get used to for the foreseeable future, Tom? Or are you just willing to speak to this generational jump right now?
Well, I'm speaking to this right now, especially because what Seth said is totally true, where it's like the other part of this is that these third-party developers probably haven't had, like, you look at a game like Cyberpunk, where we've seen gameplay footage and it still looks incredible, or you look like a game like Red Dead, where Red Dead 2 is doing things with lighting and landscapes you would never think could happen in a video game on current gen. And part of that is because these developers have had years and years and years developing on these systems, whereas everything that we saw in the Inside Xbox showcase yesterday has not had years and years and years with the Xbox Series X. So these games are going to get better looking, as like third-party games are going to get better looking as the life of the console continues anyway too. I don't think I would be an idiot. I would be one of those people that gets clipped in 20 years if I'm like, this is as good as games will ever look, right? Like,
I was trying to get you. I thought I could entrap you.
You just said it. That could be edited to make it sound like you actually just believe that.
Yeah,
that's true.
But so, like games are going to keep getting better and better and better until like we absolutely are going to get into and then past the uncanny valley at some point. But like Seth said, we're hitting diminishing returns right now because we can't. Like, you're not going to get to the point where the PS5 is going to look mind-blowingly better than the PS4 in the same way that like the PS2 did to the PS1.
Also, development has a long tail, right? Like the Assassin's Creed Odyssey looks way better than Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which came out both on the PS4, right? I started playing Mass Effect again, right? Mass Effect 1 came out on the 360, but it looks like an original Xbox game.
Yeah.
You know, like these things evolve.
Well, I think to pivot to something that like won't make us feel disappointed and upset, that's not to say, and I'm stealing this directly from your article, Tom, it's not my point, but yours rather, is that there are still these tremendous improvements going on under the surface. And even though they're more abstract, and we've seen both Microsoft and I would say especially Sony grappling with the ability of not just coming off as like dry and abstract when they're like, these are the improvements. When you actually get your hands on them, they will feel good, these meta quality of life improvements. But it's a little trickier to make a gamer's eyes light up with just phrases like smart delivery and solid state drives, unless you're really into the tech of it, versus the game will look like this. It's so accessible. So I did want to highlight some of the things that we do have to look forward to that I think once people have them woven into their lives, they'll be like, this feels demonstrably different than last gen, and it's amazing. And of course, the big one is the diminishment of load times. We're talking doors that spin until they open, mini games you play on a load screen, going through a hallway, all that stuff. What are the other like underlying improvements you guys are looking forward to?
Real quick, that's one of the biggest things to me.
That's
is
a big
like,
one, yeah.
Like, okay, so to anybody, here's a recent example. To anybody in the chat or listening right now who played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I love that game, right? I gave it an 8 because I thought it was a really, really great game. To anybody who played that game, every time you sidle past some tiny gap with some boxes, or like go across a really small little bridge, and you're like, why am I doing this so many times? It's dumb and it breaks up the pace. Every single one of those is a load screen in disguise. And the SSDs and the future of kind of like how quickly games are going to load are going to make those hopefully just gone. Like, we're just not going to have to deal with stupid little distractions like that. And that to me will do like way more for games than like better hair. Like, I don't really care about that as much if the games are more fun to play.
I remember in The Incredibles, that's the one time in my life where I leaned over and was like, do you see the cloth and the hair in this? Oh my God. But it's been a while since we can be impressed by like, that cloth bends like cloth. Yeah, we mastered that. We know. All right. Any other points before we descend into other stories of the day? Because I know people, like, we're doomed to have people coming in for the latter half of the show asking why aren't they talking about Xbox? But more stuff happened.
Yeah,
so I'm calling it.
I will say,
yes,
just quick,
final thought
to echo your point, Swim, is like, I'm excited as heck for the new consoles, right?
Yeah,
like, I'm so excited for them. I'm so excited to see what these games can do. I don't want anybody to take me being like, lower your expectations of new or next gen graphics to be like, they're gonna suck. Like, it's gonna be great. it's going to be really exciting. It's just might not be as like knock your socks off bigger and better than you might be thinking on the surface. That's all.
But part of that is, like you said, the gulf between PS4, for example, from day one to like Red Dead 2 or your Death Strandings, are the graphical leap, I think, is wider than it's been in the life of a single console,
Oh yeah.
by and
You
large. Yeah.
for Ghost of Tsushima, and you're like, people still to this day are like, I can't believe that's a current gen game. Everyone
They're squeezing it. Yeah, they're getting every drop of graphics out of it. It's awesome. Okay, so quick story, but good story. Doom Eternal, all things Doom Eternal kick ass in my mind. And we've got well, I guess they're having a problem with one of their employees. That doesn't kick ass. But the story we're covering right now is that they released 2 screenshots from their Twitter account today that give us a first look at the campaign DLC. And personally, I'm always a fan of DLCs that actually add missions. I'm personally not like a cosmetics guy. That's why Animal Crossing didn't get its claws in me. But if you're just going to add new playable levels to a game I love, then I'm absolutely in. So I'm excited about this. And Tom, you said you've gotten through Eternal, yes?
Yeah, I loved Eternal. I thought it was great.
Yeah, are you pleased with what we're seeing? We saw, it looks like Urdok, home of the makers.
Yeah, no, it's some interesting things. It's always hard to tell from just like 2 screenshots, but this is a game that is really well structured for just like, here's a new location, go to this place, or I guess Redact's not new, but you know what I mean? Like, here's a new mission, just go here and do stuff. Like, this game's really, really well structured for that, so I'm excited to just play more of it.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, you'll just put your hand on the thing in your dude base and go to a different spot. It's all fine.
Yeah, it's good.
So, which will bring up, I'll bring up a really aggro comment I saw on this piece, which was from James Baker. Great, that's all we need. More content they choose not to put in the final product. It's going to cost, what, $30? DLC is just a money grubbing technique. And I bring that up because I disagree in the case of these big major DLCs that add a lot of content. But I wonder, I see this reaction more and more now. And I wonder what you guys' thoughts are on, like, is it inevitable now that whenever you put out a substantive DLC for your big game, a portion of people are going to think that that was always in development and you just lopped it off and sold it? Because, like, there are games that slowly release themselves over time. I feel like it's sort of cast a pall over DLCs as a cool thing to do. It used to feel like, what a bonus. Like, I didn't think I'd get any more of this. There's more. And now people resent. They're like, why do I have to pay $12 for 4 more levels of BioShock? Just have it all. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, games are $60 new, which is, with inflation, historically the lowest price that games have ever been. But they take more labor to create than they ever have. So if this were to all come out, this is the way that they don't have to make games cost $90 like they did for N64, which people seem to forget. Games used to be way more expensive and you didn't get half as much stuff.
I, as a person who's not a fan of season passes in general, I have to also acknowledge that if a game came with all of its season pass content right out of the box, a video game would be $100. Like, that's the sad reality of it. And so if I get the base game and all the sort of like feature complete stuff, and everything else that they want to add gets treated as a little side extra for cash that I don't actually have to put in for, I'll take it, you know?
Yeah. And most of the DLC is just like Swaim, like you said, like, it's more of this game that you really like, which I remember originally when DLC, like, thinking how awesome that was. Like, I love this game, and now they're going to give me more of this game. I think it's when it's shady is when there's, like, you know, some story stuff locked behind there, or, you know, something really important that they are forcing you to, you know, pay money to find out what happens.
I think the controversy really stems from some early mistakes developers and publishers made with DLC, because the reason why the controversy even begins, and like why people think that this should be out of box content, is because when they started, they really did lock content that was on the disc behind the paywall.
Right.
Here's
The
here's
Katamari Damacy game for
Yeah,
360.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
half of
that's
that game
shady.
you had to
Yeah.
pay, and it was on the disc.
Right, and whereas now, like the season pass content for like an Assassin's Creed or a Call of Duty is not on the disc for whatever you buy, right? That's developed afterwards or to the side by a different team.
frequently the entire game's not on the disc.
Yeah, right. And so I think these early sort of like mistakes where actual on disc content was locked behind has sort of like ruined the image of DLC, which is now closer to like 0.5 sequels more than anything.
Here's
Yeah.
here's a term that we used to say a lot a half decade ago and don't anymore, which is day one DLC. That was the dirty word, right? Was day
Right.
one DLC. Was if a game had day one DLC, the implication was, why wasn't this part of the base game? You're just selling it separately for more money. That was kind of in my mind always like the dirty word thing. DLC like this, where it's like the game was a complete game and they had to finish making this DLC and then release it months after the game came out, is like a totally different situation to me. That because DLC, as Matt said, is abused. It can be abused. It can be gross. And so like I don't feel like it's fair to call something like this out when this is actually an example of like, yeah, it's just they're making more of this game and selling it separately.
Yeah, and Forchi in chat says, and there are games I don't want to buy the DLCs for, which actually brings up a good point, which is by breaking them apart, the games that you just liked, okay, you're actually not on the hook for as much money as you would have been if they're just like, this is the product, boom, that's all it is, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So I think the reality is it's just become a more complex process than it was before to decide which games are worth your money and which aren't, which is why a show like this is just so perfect. Let's move on to some very exciting news. I know our producer Borb is going to be excited. We're talking about this. The Mandalorian, some Mandalorian news. Tamura Morrison returns to Star Wars universe to play Boba Fett.
What?
I thought he was Django. Oh, because of the helmets they can. So yeah, essentially you could infer all the story points from my rambling. The guy who played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones is going to appear in season 2. It's confirmed as Boba, although we don't, of course, have any details on how Boba's going to interact with our guy.
He's playing his clone son.
Yeah, his own clone son.
I guess it's actually just his clone, but
right. He raised him as his son. They turned off the gene that made him grow real fast, real big.
Yeah. I remember Attack of the Clones. I know that movie.
Please, who could forget? I have the Criterion collection. Yes.
Famous line. No, wait. Actually, that line is not from the movie. It's from the Bounty Hunter video game.
Wait, which line?
About him asking for a clone without the accelerated aging gene. That's from the ending of the Bounty Hunter video game. When after you beat whatever, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll agree to give you my genes to make clones, but I only have one request, Count Dooku. And Dooku's like, what? He's like, I want one clone that doesn't age super fast.
You're right, and what's more incredible is I also conflated that with the movie itself. I also now think that was in the movie. Weird. The whole prequel trilogy is so well put together, it just blends. But anyway, Boba Fett, of course, Mandalorian, the whole series is based on the fact that Boba Fett kicks so much ass that he just can't be stopped. So it's always going to be. It's nice that, unlike Wolverine, where it seems like Wolverine they whip out arguably too often or too easily, Boba Fett, the Star Wars people really keep corralled a lot of the time. But it's always good to see him come through. And I think he was hinted at in season 1 very slightly. But I thought that was going to be the extent of it, just a reference to there is Boba Fett. But it turns out they're going to interact in some way. I think they just wanted to establish, the Mandalorian as his own kick-ass guy. Yeah,
I'm
before he got
super
overshadowed.
excited to see how this all plays out, because now the Mandalorian never takes his helmet off, and it's like, wait a minute, Boba and Jango always took theirs off, and now they find out, they weren't real Mandalorians, and I haven't really read the lore behind that.
Yeah.
But now, and I'm like, well, is it legends that Boba Fett was the only one to ever escape the Sarlacc pit, or is that canon now? Because he was the only being to ever escape, and it changed him forever because some of the souls that were. I'm just gonna shut up.
Excuse me? Wait, you had me until some of the souls, and then
Some
you
of the souls.
The Starlight Pit for the 1,000 years.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't just digest you. It actually it takes your soul,
It
like the
swallows your
essence of who
soul.
you are. You become part like this. It's like a being John Malkovich kind of thing at the end where he gets stuck in there, you know, and he can't do anything about it.
What?
So yeah,
And there's
you
a huge
become.
being John Malkovich and Star Wars fans. That's a huge overlap. I'm glad we're playing in that area.
Okay, sure.
Concurrence just cut in half.
I saw some people on Twitter react to the news that they were very excited because they were like, "Oh man, I'm glad that they're paying off Boba Fett after he was teased in season 1." And I'm like, I saw the Mandalorian season 1. I don't remember him being teased even a little bit. But I
I
guess
think everybody, when they announced that they were making a show Mandalorian, they're like, "Ah, cool, Boba Fett show," and then it
Right.
turned out to be
Right.
way like. I mean, hey, I'm not trying to diss Fett or anything, but like Mandalorian was awesome. It went just the way I wouldn't change a thing.
Although I knew if it was going to be about Boba Fett, it would have been called Boba Fett, a Star Wars story or something. Like as soon as
yeah.
it wasn't called Boba Fett, you knew it was a different Mandalorian. I assume. But yeah, apparently so it's funny, Matt. I watched it. I binged it all in one sitting because I didn't want to buy Disney Plus for any other reason, and then I got rid of Disney Plus, and I missed it too. But according to our article about this. I'm sorry, the Hollywood Reporter's article about this. I don't want to stolen valor. The character was teased in a season 1 episode called The Gunslinger when a mysterious figure sporting the bounty hunter's trademark spurs approached the apparently lifeless body of Fennec Shand. Does that ring a bell?
Do I
No?
not work for the Hollywood Reporter?
Wait,
I
was
thought
that I think that was the worst episode of the season. So maybe that's why I don't remember it.
Apparently, yeah, I saw another person on my Twitter who said that apparently there was talk of a mysterious character on Tatooine who's cleaning up the town, which is apparently Boba. Could be anyone else really, but I don't know. It's a small universe.
It's an exceedingly small universe in Star Wars. People run into each other through happenstance way more than you'd think would be statistically possible. But yeah, so Timur's back. I wonder if he went method and followed himself around to see how he acts so he could be a clone of himself. Let's move on. That joke would have landed better at the top of that story.
The last thing is I do like that because of the clone concept, it's funny because he can play an older version of himself, but it's actually not himself, it's clone. And like the timing working out on that is just it's great, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pervy Sage Ken in chat says, "What the F did I just tune into?" I'll tell you what, Pervy Sage, you tuned into us talking about a canceled Prince of Persia game that leaked in 2012, but it was not widely viewed until very recently. That's what you tuned into, you mother effer. Strap in. Matt, you wrote this piece too, so give us some context. First of all, like, how did this live on YouTube for so long with only, I think, like a very small number of views or anyone really talking about it?
I reached out to Ubisoft and I asked them, how did this footage find its way online? They told us, they emailed us personally. They said, Prince of Persia is a beloved franchise in our library, and we have no announcements at this time. What they answered, but no, so it's a crazy story where this footage was uploaded back in 2012 on YouTube. Like on the timestamp, it says it was uploaded in 2012, and it shows what's clearly like a Prince of Persia game, right? There's a bunch of wall crawling, wall jumping, little time-based combat kind of stuff. And one of the former Ubisoft developers who worked on Assassin's Creed 3, which lines up with this time frame, who is currently now just a game animation director around the industry, was like, "Oh man, I haven't seen this footage in ages," or specifically says, "Wow, haven't seen this in ages. Amazing work from animation director Kai Nguyen and team. This target game footage (parentheses pre-rendered game pitch) inspired our own pitch for Assassin's Creed 3." But yeah, it's a mystery of why this was discovered now and how it did for so long, but.
I loved specifically the POP games that were like this, Sands of Time, and this looks so awesome. I've been waiting for a new one of these for so long.
It's important to note though, pre-rendered game pitch, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. This is not real. This is an animation made to look like a game.
You're right. Yeah, all the footage that you see, not actually someone with a controller demoing the game for anybody.
Right.
This was animated for people who are in charge of saying yes or no to game pitches, as a proof of concept. Like this is what we want it to look like, and I guess the powers that be said no.
So this is what you're saying is
doesn't.
something
Yeah.
that
Go ahead.
this is something that you might have seen on Inside Xbox.
No.
It doesn't stop me from wanting it really badly.
Yeah,
None of what you're
yeah.
saying makes me not. I can imagine that it's a game. It looks so awesome.
Yeah,
The
it does.
tentacles.
Yep.
Yeah, it takes me back to the DuckTales Quackshots screens that came out recently and turned out to be an April Fool's thing. And I was just like, that stings. That hurts. But I will say, I think a comment on the article really gets at the heart of it. Reverend R says, I miss Prince of Persia. I expect the next time we will see it will be an Assassin's Creed Persian shenanigans. And I agree that, especially given the background information you just gave about some shared talent, I don't see why there wouldn't just eventually be an Assassin's Creed game that encompasses most of these ideas. Other than, of course, the dying and sucking yourself back in time and then going again, which I would kill for another game with that mechanic.
Okay.
Can I have a hot take here?
Please. It looks bad?
Yeah.
Oh, explain how.
That's actually my hot take, is that I'm hoping that this pitch didn't get made.
Mhm.
I think that's a really cool video, and I definitely want a new Prince of Persia game. Like I'm totally on board with both those things. But man, a gray and yellow gritty Prince of Persia reboot is not at all a thing I am interested in.
It does look a little textureless. Like stuff seems a little unrendered because it's just yellow.
Right. And like I'm
Fair.
sure some of that's because it's just a pitch, right? But like,
Wasn't it like 10 years old?
yeah,
Every game was that 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is like it fits exactly in line with like what we saw at that time, and like now look back on as tired and boring, right? Like I don't feel like
It's gonna come back around, baby. It's gonna hit that nostalgia.
I just want to turn into sand, man. Let me turn into sand.
Remember muddy textures and brown and yellow color palettes that were so big in 2012? They're coming back.
Hey, for a lot of people, that was their first exposure to video games, and there will be people in the next 10 years who are looking to revisit that.
That's true. That's true.
I love the color variety of video games these days.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're an old man. I'm talking about the future, the kids.
I'm just basically, my point is that Prince of Persia has been booted and rebooted a whole number of times in a whole lot of different ways, not always successfully. And just seeing a pitch for a Prince of Persia reboot does not make me immediately think that I want that specific pitch. Like, I want a Prince of Persia reboot. I'd love for that series to come back, but like, it's got to be the right opportunity. And if this was not made, I assume there's a reason it was not made. And maybe I'm wrong there, but like, this didn't really inspire me to be like, dang, that's a game we missed out on.
Dang. You know who you just made sad? The Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
That's fair. Although I would assume both happen. I would assume there are games that would have been great that fall apart for other reasons. But I bet you're right that the majority of games, it's like a divorce, right? If you got divorced, you probably intended to, because you should have, because something was wrong. Things fall apart for reasons. But so I want to talk about, in my opinion, even more exciting games that even more so are not real, never were, and never will be. And I need to say to the audience immediately, Nintendo is very big on legal action and ceases and desists and such. The artwork is no longer available, the artwork we're about to talk about. So we won't be showing it because we can't. So if you're asking, why aren't I seeing it? That's why. So we'll make it quick. But oh my God, these ideas are so cool. Yeah. A concept artist who used to work at Retro Studios, who are most known for the Metroid Prime series. His name is Sammy Hall. And it just came up in the news today because people got their hands on, or he released, I don't know, someone more credible will explain the details, but ideas for a Zelda spinoff game and a Mario spinoff game that he pitched and literally just like pitched in a work group and they were shot down. So these are just like a guy's ideas, but they're very cool. Yeah, what's the real details around this? Anyone hop in?
He published them on ArtStation, which is a professional sort of like a portfolio site for artists. It's meant for them to just post their artwork and their like completed project so that they could show, job opportunities that like, hey, this is what I've done, like a DeviantArt, and LinkedIn had a baby, right? It's also good for these sort of like unproduced, not leaks, but like unproduced projects. For example, like the BioShock movie, the storyboards for that were on ArtStation because an artist was hired to make storyboards for this potential pitch of a movie, and it never happened, but they existed online and people found them.
So journalism question, has that become like a super exciting resource for you guys? Like, do you lurk on that and see what pops up?
Not I mean, they have cool things on them, but
I
like
love concept art.
right, but like sometimes these concept arts are under embargo. So if a game is real and it happens, the artwork for that won't be on someone's portfolio until years after the project comes out. So it's not sort of like a let's see some leaks kind of thing, because contractually these artworks for finished games or games in development won't actually be published until they ship.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm going to read the descriptions from the article, which you can find on IGN.com, of the concepts that Sammy Hall slapped together. One set of galleries showed a game set around a male version of Sheik, the character most associated with Zelda's disguise in Ocarina of Time. It would have been an action JRPG set after the dark timeline of Ocarina, in which the last male Sheikah travels across a ruined Hyrule where a dark Gerudo tribe gives birth to a new form of Ganon, and it would apparently have acted as an origin story for the Master Sword.
Ah, dang,
That
man.
sounds rad.
That's incredible.
Sounds rad as hell, dude.
Oh, in my wheelhouse. Everything, every sentence better than the last.
The wild thing about that too is we did get an action RPG Zelda game in Hyrule Warriors, and we did get an origin story for the Master Sword in Skyward Sword. So like neither of those I assume were at all associated with this pitch, but it's funny to see that this pitch actually touched on some things that we like sort of got.
Yeah.
Yeah, Atlas Fanboy on the article said Mario has stuff like Luigi's Mansion and Paper Mario, so I want to see another dev reinterpret the Link universe in a similar way. But there have been a couple. Yeah? I haven't played the Zelda spin-offs. I'm a mainline Zelda guy. Are the spin-offs really excellent? Like, is Four Swords super good?
Four Swords.
Yeah, the
real fun.
Capcom GBA games are definitely worth checking out.
Yes, those are very good, very cute, very fun.
Yeah. And I like the Spirit Tracks.
Wanda Gamelon, famous.
No.
The real one, the real hotness is Link's crossbow training for the Wii.
Stop.
Hey, you know what? On Nintendo Land, the Legend of Zelda Nintendo Land on that game, that was awesome. That's a severely underrated game.
I gotta say, I was playing Walking Dead Saints and Sinners VR last night, and I just got a bow and arrow in that game, and I was like, I want a Zelda game where I'm doing like Epona's Reigns, and then like on a track doing bow and arrow. That would be so cool.
That would be awesome.
I need a Nintendo VR set to come out. Okay, but he had another idea. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Labo VR. Yeah,
Labo. That's true. I did Labo. I did it. I was like, this would be cool. If I had a nephew, it would seem less weird that I'm doing this alone. The robot is too short for me to operate.
You can play Breath of the Wild in VR. It just will make you physically ill to do so.
I bet. Yeah. Hang gliding would be terrifying.
It's not good.
To get used to it, yeah. So Sammy Hall had another idea that is frankly just as good. The other game he was working on is a game based around playing as a single Boo from the Mario universe, possibly titled Haunt, and seemingly designed for handhelds. And it may have been set around a Boo learning to scare. Dude, if you played a handheld game where it was like you have to turn away and then like stealth, like Metal Gear Solid style, sneak up on and attack, the Mario fam and destroy them, I just think that would be awesome too. These are great game ideas.
Yeah.
What's Sammy Hall up to?
I'm sure there are thousands of great game ideas that never become games. Which
it's true.
That sucks, but it happens.
But we have a
we
talk
want
show,
these ones
so
specifically.
these are
Yeah.
two fun ones, and we're going to talk about them. Yeah. Luigi's Mansion 3, just a delight. Okay, sounds like I think the angel of awkward silence flew over, so I'm going to move on. Did you guys check out the Fall Guys trailer?
That's lovely.
Am I foisting this on you? Because yeah, I just am such a huge Devolver Digital fan. We got to talk about
They're
anything.
lovely and
Fall
wonderful.
Fall Guys, since the moment it got revealed, has been a game I just want to play constantly. It looks so silly and funny and fun.
Yeah, so someone explain the premise here real quick.
It's like one of the best way I can explain it is like, if you know, the best way I can explain it is a way that nobody will understand. But if you know, like, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, or
Of course,
or the Japanese equivalent Takeshi's Castle, which is with
MXC.
Yeah, those, like, it's one of those game shows, but as a digital, silly multiplayer online game. So you like, it's kind of like Battle Royale style, where you start with like dozens and dozens and dozens of contestants, and then you go through these like sort of almost Mario Party-esque but more 3D platforming mini games.
Mhm.
And as you succeed in them, you make it towards the end and try to be like the winner of it all. And like the mini games are just ridiculous looking and physics based, and God, this game looks funny.
Yeah, it's competitive shoving.
Yeah. I could see this being a real surprise party game hit. You know, one that, like, when there are house parties again, which there aren't now, but when there are, I can guarantee that this is one of those games that's going to be like on the TV that 4 players can, like, more can just jump into at any given time. I actually don't know if there's local co-op, but
that looks cool as hell.
I mean, that's part of the thing, though, is like a lot of the challenges, kind of like a battle royale, are like just cull the field quickly, right, and then like get to smaller and smaller things. Like there's one game that I think one of the mini games is like you split into 2 teams, and you basically just play giant physicsy soccer with a giant ball, and the team that loses, just the entirety of it gets eliminated, and then the other half of the other team moves on and starts competing against each other. So like, there's just tons of weird little games like that. It just looks so great.
Yeah.
And I feel like genre hybrid that we're going to see more of, and I would love to see more of, is Battle Royale obviously is a money-making in like formula. But yet we haven't seen it hybridized with like every genre yet. And there's a bunch of genres besides FPS and light building mechanics that I think Battle Royale works great for. This is essentially Battle Royale platforming, which is such a great idea. I could see Battle Royale CCG, where you're Hearthstoning and you get narrowed down. I could see Battle Royale racing game, Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Like, I'm interested in the idea of you start with a bunch of people and then get narrowed down, applied to something other than FPS. Not that those games aren't fun, but like, let's just see what that's like in different combinations. I think that's great.
I have a game for you. It's called Tetris 99.
Oh,
yes.
The Wii U Sports Bowling had a 100-pin version of bowling. That's kind of the same idea. You had to knock them all down, though.
So there's 2 I will shout out. There's a game called Battle Right Royale that came out a little while ago that was based off of a game called Battle Right. And Battle Right was basically like, what if a MOBA, but only the team fights, is pretty much like the pitch of that game, is just like arena combat. And they made Battle Right Royale, which was like a top-down kind of MOBA action RPG Diablo-y style battle royale game. And then there's another game that's out right now called Super Animal Royale. It's currently in early access on Steam. That's it's top-down like twin stick shooter pretty much, but with adorable animals as the people, and it's a battle royale game. So Super Animal Royale is one worth looking at if you're looking for that sort of battle royale, but not FPS.
Yeah, it's just a little tense because I suck at it.
Okay,
we only got a few minutes left, and there's only 2 stories left, so we may as well get them both out into the world, into the people's minds. The Tokyo Game Show 2020 has been canceled.
RIP.
That sucks.
To be expected, but
I don't know. It's like, it's not surprising, but
Yeah.
it's still sad.
We like to keep you appraised, and of course, and there will be a digital replacement in case that wasn't also let go without saying. There will be a digital event instead. They said, we ask for your kind understanding and cooperation which you have to give because there's no other option. You can't make it happen.
These event cancellations are just always going to be a bummer and always going to be the right call right now. And it's just sort of like, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. And last but not least, a shout out to Square Enix IDOS, who are releasing an anthology of 54 games for $39, all proceeds of which will go to charity, specifically addressing the COVID crisis. What else would it be for? But I'm going to load the page because I actually want to see the list of games. As you'd expect, all the comments are basically people shouting out, this list is great, or I don't like this game or that game. But it's a long list of games for $39.
Hey, if you want to download it, go to IGN Deals Twitter at IGN Deals, because I posted it there earlier, because it's 95% off the price of all of these games. And apparently if you own these games already, you don't get charged for them, so it'll knock like $1 or $2 off, if you already own some of these games.
Oh, the bundle's like prorated?
Oh yeah.
You can get it even cheaper. That's
you can
awesome.
get it even cheaper, yeah.
Because it's 95%, it's like you own one game and that's like 3 cents off of the whole price.
All right. It's a good deal. By the way, kudos to us. I think this is the most self-plugs for IGN pieces ever in one of these.
Oh yeah.
We're good.
How you
We're
grow. You just gotta. There's no such thing as a shameful self-promotion. It's all gonna
That's
be
right.
shameful.
Borba, who's our controller behind the scenes, says plug the shirts in all caps. Someone want to do that?
Yeah, you should go to. We got some new Venom shirts in the IGN store, store.ign.com. Yeah, I'm super stoked on Venom and all symbiotic life forms. We also have a bunch of new Star Wars shirts that you should check out. And my main accent just kicked in there pretty hard, and I apologize if I.
Star Wars.
Yeah, can you say that again?
Star Wars.
Good, great. Love it.
He masked it.
Why does the second R show up, but not the first R?
It's for the same reason that it shows up at the end of words that it's not supposed to be in, like soda.
Is that like is that accent like based on its proximity to Canada? Like, is it like a?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Wow, we really got off track.
We are proud.
What has the show become?
It has become talking about mainaccents.com.
3 more things to say. First, if you're not familiar with the actual catalog of Square Enix IDOS, you can't find that whole list at IGN, but highlights are like the Tomb Raider games, the Deus Ex games, the Just Cause games, the Legacy of Kain games, Thief,
oh man,
Dungeon Siege, Blood Omen, Daikatana, the Turing Test, lots of stuff. So even going by that,
you're good, man. The Hitman Go, that game's great.
Oh, Hitman Go,
super good.
So that's cool. That's about time. I also wanted to say, if you stick around on this channel, wherever you're watching us, YouTube, Mixer, what have you, directly after this show is Up at Noon at 5, because it's noon in Fiji, and that features Max Scoville and Brian Altano, and they'll have a very special guest today, Mike Drucker.
Oh,
former IGNer. Yeah, and they're going to be unboxing some toys, and
from the IGN vaults.
They don't want us to ruin the surprise, so some cool toys, and they're funny guys. We never know what they're going to do. Max and Brian will be on after this. And I'm getting the big red flashing sign, so it's time for us to wrap up and get out of here. But I wanted to thank everyone for watching. Big crowd here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Monday at the same time, same platforms, 4 p.m. every weekday. I'm Michael Swaim. You can follow me on Twitter at Swaim_Corp. Let's go around the horn and give our Twitter info or your favorite social media info.
I guess it's me. All right. Matt Kim at LoveTD on Twitter. That's you. Seth?
Oh, me? Oh, at Seth Macy. Macy, just like the department store, on Twitter.
I'm at Tom R. Marks. I don't even know where are you pointing?
There we go.
We don't know.
Oh, okay. I see where we're going. Yeah, I'm at Tom R. Marks on Twitter. You can find me there to tell me my opinions of next-gen video games are wrong. And I will plug that I've got another, if you liked that one, I've got another one coming Monday that should be spicy. I'm going to make lots of people mad probably, but that's not my intention. People just like being mad at me for some reason. I don't know.
Not this guy, Tom. Never happened.
All right. We have literal seconds, so farewell. You don't have to bitch about a long intro sequence because Up at Noon at 5 is coming at you in mere moments. Bye.